Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma. For a long time, I believed that my life had to look a certain way in order to be right. The right business, the right relationship, the right timing. And recently, I realized something that stopped me deep in my tracks. My life is not what my ego wanted. It is exactly what my soul asked for. Today, I want to talk about what happens when you finally make peace with that truth. Let's begin. Hello, friends. What a busy December it has been. And, my friends, I've shared with you all here that I am a single mom half the time. My partner lives in Houston, and that's about 5 hours away from Dallas, where I live. And I'm in the rebuilding phase of my business. So I been very fortunate. I've served tons of clients and decided to move into a new niche with my coaching business and decided to network in order to meet amazing people where I can add value and also be the recipient of amazing, beautiful things. And so life has been extremely busy these last few weeks. And it's interesting. I think what is really coming to light for me these last few days is my life isn't the version that my ego wanted. My life is the version that my soul desires. And it's uncanny. It's uncanny. And I had this deep, profound feeling of gratitude as I was laying in my boyfriend Ajit's arms last night as he drove 5 hours from Houston to Dallas to see me and spend the rest of the week with me, where I was just reflecting on how bizarre it is that we're together, despite all odds, where we're 5 hours away from each other, where we'd both come out of divorces with unhappy marriages, where we're both single parents half the time when we're not with each other, both with young kids. I have high schoolers. He's got an 11 and 13-year-old. And, if we look at all the dynamics of life and being entrepreneurs, being business owners, it's just really a miracle that we've made it this far and that we're doing beautifully. And it's interesting. And I was sharing with someone the other day, and I've shared about it in one of the podcasts here. I was talking about my crazy journey getting out there and dating after my divorce and how wild that was. And it's interesting because Ajit would have never made the cut. My criteria, and I kind of laugh at it now because it's so bizarre. But it's like, sometimes we have these bizarre wish lists as people, as women. And my wish list was like not an Indian, because let's be honest, like I'm Indian and I know the baggage that I've come with. My ex was Pakistani and he came with a lot of baggage, right? We all come with a lot of baggage. I was like not an Indian. Not a Leo, and guess who is a Leo? She's the woman looking right at you. My kids are Leo, so we've got a lot of fire in my house, in my life, in everything. And within 30 miles of Dallas, and he is 300 miles of Dallas. So if I just seemingly look at that version of what my ego wanted, there's no way in heck that he would have made the cut as I was kind of scrolling right to the select few, several years ago. So it's just interesting what that looks like. And I'm kind of making a joke of it, but it's really kind of bizarre and it's fascinating and it's beautiful. And then the other part is just everything else, from having a successful business, 7-figure business a few years ago, and then making a decision. I made the decision that it wasn't aligned to me. I made the decision that I didn't want to just work with real estate investors talking about just growth, that I wanted to work with more purpose-filled individuals, really create that lasting impact and change. So maybe it sounds kind of bizarre, but I left the comfort zone of the old business that didn't align with me and decided to shift into this crazy unknown world where it has been the most growth that I've ever encountered in my entire life as a professional, as a businesswoman. And I get to be in this beautiful journey, experiencing beautiful people, doing incredible things today. So it's just amazing what a gift it is that I am where I am today. And if I'd even considered for a moment what my life looks like with my children, and my children are my greatest gift, they are my legacy. It is how I am with them. It is how we show up with each other. It is the connection that we have with each other. That is the impact that I wish to leave behind, not the dollars in my bank account. Nothing else matters. It's who am I being with them? Who am I being with everyone in my life? But more importantly, who am I being with me? And that's been the biggest gift, because the shift has been looking at the world outside, from putting others on a pedestal that are outside of me. And for the first time in my life, really valuing me. That worthiness isn't outside of me. It's not something that needs to be earned or deserved or had or something I need to work towards, that I already am. And I wanted to dive into this topic a little bit deeper, as this was a conversation that came out from our Empowered Daisy call last week, Sunday, where we talked about this notion of worthiness and this notion of deserving. And it's uncanny, because last week I spent time in rooms, some folks with extreme wealth, mega millions, billions potentially. I was sitting in a room with art, and there were two pieces of art, one on each side, and each art was valued at $45 million plus. And I was in that room completely comfortable in my own skin, hearing the couple of folks talk about the art, but not feeling like I had to kiss anyone's butt that was in that room, because the truth is, I am equal to them, because God made us the same. God put the same value and worth in each of us. I didn't feel a need to get into the ego game, because how ludicrous would that be? And I just allowed myself to ease into who I was last week. And I'm talking about last week because for me last week, being in these couple of rooms with mega millionaires and pivoting into a new niche with my business where I support ultra wealthy individuals, it's like for the first time, there was no imposter. For the first time, I was completely comfortable in my skin. For the first time, I was able to be completely myself as I sat across dinner with a new friend of mine who is extremely wealthy, who is one of those owners of the $45 million of art, where we just got to have a human conversation and just become friends and just learn about each other, and just for me to be a safe place for him to speak his truth about his business, about the challenges with partnership, the challenges with marriage. And you see, for me, this journey that we're on in this podcast, that those pieces of evidence in the world become evidence to me that something's working, that how I am today, comfortable in my skin more than I ever have been, something's working, because it's like, wow, I don't need to put myself in situations that I don't care for. I don't need to sit in uncomfortable discussions with people that don't light me up. And I get to really be who I am on every level without fear, with the people that are really aligned with me. And I just look back last week and I had 2.5 long days of conversations, networking, from happy hours to long conference days, and just like looking at all of that and saying, oh my God, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Because for the first time, like I found myself dancing within myself. I found myself like, there's a part of me that is a salesperson. I love selling. Selling for me is relationships. And I love fostering relationships with amazing human beings, because when you're talking to amazing human beings and you're doing work with amazing human beings, work isn't work and you just get to play. And I saw myself in my body experiencing that part of me that is very much a salesperson. And at the same time, also experiencing me that is very much living in our heart. and experiencing the part of me that is an introvert and had those moments of shutdown and found those little moments and gaps to recalibrate wherever possible. And just like those moments of me in between all of those parts, and just like enjoying dancing between the salesperson, between the part of me that's the quiet introvert that woke up every morning whenever possible and just decided to take a long walk out to the beach, which was less than a half a mile away, and go walk on the sand and ground myself because, oh my God, that time for me, that time for quiet, the time for me to connect with who I am, my soul, myself, my being, that moment, that hour in the morning allowed me to recharge my battery so I could show up the rest of the day and be who I was. Be the coach, be the friend, be the salesperson, be the person that's just listening, be the person that's just exploring and having fun and coming into things with no attachment. And for me, there was such a level of freedom with that and such a level of joy with that. We're getting to meet amazing new friends and genuinely giving them a hug because, oh my God, like, thank you for giving me your presence. And I'm so grateful that I got to give you my presence of who I am. And you know, that evidence is so beautiful. And when I just want to kind of peel back the layers of that worthiness, deserving piece. So for me, there's a recognition, first of all, that wherever I go, I belong there. That if everything is perfectly orchestrated by God and we are vessels of God, then isn't what He deemed to be so? Isn't who I am what God deemed to be as well? This version of Karishma that's sitting here looking at the screen across from me, every version of me is perfectly perfect and imperfectly perfect and all of the layers in between. And wow, what a miracle that is. I am. And you know, what a blessing it is to be in every room that I'm in. In any room, I can sit there and tell myself I don't belong here, but I do belong. Why? Because God decided that He would put me in those rooms. He would put me in front of people. And I believe that every human being comes on this planet and we all have soul contracts with each other. We all have predestined how long we're going to be in each other's lives. And we've chosen each other for a reason and a season and a purpose for us to be there for each other in whatever way God decided that He needed us to be. So if I really live my life through that, then there is no mistake. Then every room that I sit in, I absolutely belong in. And it's absolutely perfect. And then the other part is if everything's meant to be. And if this notion of soul contracts really exists, then there are no mistakes. There are no coincidences. And you can't miss what's meant for you. So if someone's meant to be in your life, whether they're a friend, whether they're a partner, whether they're in relationship with you, whether they're just an acquaintance, it doesn't matter. Recognizing that, wow, like every one of us has preordained a time and space and a longevity of time and space to be with each other. And there's no coincidences. And we can't miss what's meant for us. And if I just simply lean into those three things, right? That I'm inherently worthy, that I'm supposed to be in the right place, right time, and that I can't miss what's meant for me, and that I inherently belong. I belong to God. And if I do the work of belonging to me, of starting to lean into all those spaces of discomfort within me and really become okay with who I am, and at some point fall in love with who I am, what a freaking miracle. What a freaking miracle. Because the proof of what I experienced is what this journey ends up with. Because who doesn't want to walk through life more comfortable in their skin? To be able to look people in the eye and say, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, that's okay. But I'm not going to change me any longer to placate you. That my happiness comes first And there's nothing wrong with me being happy. Doesn't God want every single one of us human beings to enjoy the fruits of happiness and joy and connection? And look at babies, look at toddlers, look at little children. Aren't they the embodiment of love and light and freedom and free spirits, where they are just who they are perfectly? And isn't it time for us to start looking at ourselves and say, wow, I'm so grateful for who I am, being grateful for every part of me, every imperfection, every flaw, every story, every mistake, because the truth is there are no mistakes. There are no flaws. Every little dent, imperfection has a perfect story, has a perfect space, time, people I'm supposed to connect with, not connect with, be there, not be there. And it's all divinely orchestrated. If I allow myself to let go and trust and surrender and say, wow, this is what life is presenting to me, we start noticing that every part of our life is a gift, that we are a gift, that people and places in our lives, even the ones we don't care for, are a gift. Why? Because they allowed us to see parts of ourselves that we didn't have capacity to see within ourselves. And they become mirrors to our unconscious. So we can come back and start leaning into ourselves even more, start loving ourselves even more, start being appreciative who we are on a deeper level. And that, my friends, is the work. That, my friends, is the legacy that you already are. So I hope you found this helpful. And today, in the spaces and noise of the outside world, take a few minutes to come back home to you, to recalibrate to nature, to recalibrate to self, whatever that may look like for you. And just come back to your heart and say thank you for who I am, where I am, and all that I am. Have a beautiful day.